All right, do you want to just let people pop in and get started?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. This is our second part of the Setting Standards webinar series by High Heels, Higher Standards. Super excited to have Ashleigh here with us tonight. Her company's name is The Intentional You, and she's absolutely amazing and a fellow clinician in the field. And I thought it was only befitting that she join us tonight and share how career and relationships coincide with one another and how you can definitely have both and you don't have to compromise one or the other. So that's what we'll be talking about tonight. Passion, purpose. So without further ado, I'm going to allow her to share with you all tonight, tell you more about the Intentional You. And again, thank you. I know you're all the way from Detroit joining us tonight. So I'm very appreciative and I'm happy that you were able to participate tonight. So hopefully this will be more of a discussion and dialogue after she finishes sharing with us. We want to start a conversation and really get some clarity on some things for ourselves and our personal lives. So get ready to be a part of that discussion. If you have any questions or as we're talking, just, jot them down in the comments or make a mental note and we'll come back to them toward the end. So go ahead, Ashleigh.
Thanks, Daria. So as Daria had mentioned, I am from Michigan. I currently grew up in Southfield, currently residing in Northville. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk with you all about paychecks and purpose and kind of how to balance the two. I know one of the things that as I have transitioned into my early 30s, a lot of the conversations that I have with my colleagues or my friends who are women and men, but especially the conversations happen more with women, are the fact that being able to, once you start to have relationships, whether it be romantic, and we could even apply platonic relationships to this as well, but being able to dedicate time to building your relationship and as things progress, building a family, and then also being able to progress in your career as well. And where do you find the balance between the two? And everyone that I talk to always talks about feeling like they're being tugged either way. And so today we're going to kind of talk about a few tips and tricks that can be helpful in being able to find that balance and hopefully creating a healthy relationship while thriving in your career as well. So we are going to, well, I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself. This picture is the slides that I'm using are old slides that I just threw together in a quick Canva board. But my name is Ashleigh Maynor, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I got my master's in counseling in 2011. I got my bachelor's in psychology from the University of Michigan and my master's from Oakland University, sorry. And I really enjoy working with my clients, focusing on three things. Actually, all things, but these are my favorite types of clients, where we're talking about relationships, progressing in their career professionally, or just finding purpose and meaning and fulfillment in their life. And so what I noticed the most in working with my clients was that these were three themes that would always come up no matter what type of challenge or situation that they were coming to talk to me about. Those three things kind of manifested or came out in our conversation at some point in time. And so that's where Intentional You came from, helping people to discover their passions, find their purpose, and really hone in on being intentional in developing healthy relationships as well. So to start, some of the facts that we know is that research has shown that people that are in successful relationships tend to have healthier lives, they live longer, they make more money, and they get more promotions over the time. And so you have to kind of think about why is that true? Why is that possible? And a lot of times it's because when you're in healthy relationships, you have that support system that allows you to be free to explore, to try new things, to take risks. And those are the things that you need to thrive in both areas, being able to, your relationships and also in your career. And then one of the other facts that we also know is that trying to progress in your career while building a successful relationship can feel very daunting. You feel like you're being pulled in two different areas. But the truth is, as I kind of mentioned before, is that relationships and career go hand in hand with one another, and that you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. That's one of the things that I always try to stress to my clients, is that you don't have to give up your career. You don't have to give up. Now, there are some sacrifices that you have to make, but you don't have to quit your job in order to have a great relationship. You don't have to not be in a relationship in order to progress in your career. And how many of you don't feel like you have to answer this? Could be a rhetorical question, but think of being Mary Jane, and there's a lot of dynamics that go on with that show. But in particular, her one of the underlying things that you see in that show is her trying to progress in her career, and how that works with some of her relationships, and how she kind of self-sabotages a lot of times, more so for a few other reasons. But one of the reasons is her being able to progress in her career, not necessarily having the commitment of a relationship. And so one of the things that we don't want to do is to look at being Mary Jane as our the woman that we are trying to model our relationships after. Career goals, she's very tenacious, but even there's some things I would say be cautious about. But moving on to tip number 1, but we'll go in descending order. So number 5, and this is not in order of importance, but definitely something to think about more often than not. So the first one is balance versus integration. And so the reason why I say you want to stop integrating and start balancing is because people tend to integrate all the time. The definition, Webster's dictionary, is the act of combining or adding parts to make a unified whole. And so what people tend to do with their relationships oftentimes and their career is combine the two. So you'll find yourself, and I'm guilty of it, I'll find myself, being out with my significant other, or being out with friends and family, and I might be on my phone answering an email, and I'm not giving them my undivided attention. And so that's just something that over time, especially with technology and things becoming so easily accessible, that people are just becoming more accustomed to integrating their career with the relationship than they are balancing the two. There used to be a time where you couldn't check your email once you left work. Your job only called you if there were, emergencies, or vice versa. So those are some conscious things that you can start thinking about. Okay, when do I find myself being out with my girlfriends and we're not giving one another undivided attention, or we're sitting at a dinner table with friends and everybody's on your cell phone? Like, that's a common thing that you see nowadays. And so one of the things I would caution you to do is be careful to not combine the two too often and too much, because blurring the lines can definitely cause you to tip the scales. So one of the questions that I have for you, and we can come talk about this as we come back to this a little bit later, but think about a time, whether it's, again, whatever type of situation or relationship that you might have, where you find yourself, and this could be an unconscious decision, but where you find yourself integrating your personal life into career. You find yourself either communicating with family or your significant other. And there are definitely case by case, situations where that might be okay if you have an emergency or something that you have to handle. But on a daily basis, and again, guilty of this too, but how many of you, and this can be by a show of hands, how many of you will sit at work and be in a group text or a group chat with your girlfriends throughout the day? Yep. And so how does that work in terms of being productive? How does that work in terms of making sure that you're staying on task? I know when I spend more time on my group chats, there are at least 10 emails that just don't get answered until the next day that I could have taken care of that day. And then I get into work with my checklist the next day, like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And I find myself, again, I'm not there completely. And that's something that, they're paying you to be there completely. So I would encourage you to think about times where you are at work and you're integrating your personal life into it. And then also in your personal life, when you start integrating work into it as well. And think about ways in which you can make yourself aware of those times so that you can stop doing it. Because right now what it is a habit, and you just have to learn how to stop the bad habit and create new habits. And so a lot of that just comes from being aware. So if you're writing or taking notes, that would be number one. Where are you integrating too much, and how are some new ways in which you can stop doing so? With balancing, it can definitely be difficult. I think one of the things in a lot of people's lives that a lot of people can say is true is that balancing is more like what I would say walking a tightrope. And there are going to be times where you're swaying, or you're leaning, or you're rocking, and you're constantly trying to keep things in proportion while you're putting one foot in front of the other. And so it takes a lot of concentration and focus. What you don't want to end up doing is trying to juggle everything at once. One of the things that I've learned, and I'm still learning how to do as new tasks and new responsibilities get put on my plate, is really understand how to prioritize as best as I can. And so different things work for different people. Like right now, my goal is to, I just got a promotion at my 9-to-5 job. So that's an increase in responsibility. I'm managing people, and I have a whole new set of job responsibilities. In addition to that, I have my business, Intentional You. And so being able to still dedicate time to growing that, and I will say I've been doing pretty bad at that the last couple of months. Even with my posts, I used to post at least once or twice a day. And now I might go like 3 days without posting because I'm not doing a good job of balancing right now, guys. Full disclosure, I'm not doing a good job of it. And then other areas of my life are suffering as well. I have not been going to the gym as much. And I have a wedding to be in next year. Friends are getting married, and, I'm not an emotional eater. I just like sweets. I'd rather eat a bowl of sugary cereal over some veggies and, something that's good for me. But when I lose prioritizing or time management in my day, that is when I start losing my balance. So that's when I start feeling like I'm juggling things and I'm trying to catch one ball while I'm in the midst of trying to catch another one. And what happens is I start dropping balls. And so that's where within your relationships and your career, when you start integrating too much, you'll start to drop those balls. And so that's where balance and prioritizing and setting up time, dedicated time, is important. So for example, for those of you who are have committed time for your girlfriends, say like, okay, this month we're scheduled to meet. I am going to make sure that I am not on the phone. And when we go out for girls' night, it's going to be girls' night. It's just you guys and me. And as hard as it might be those first couple of times to pull yourself away from your phone, whether you're doing work stuff or even checking Instagram or Facebook, again, you're giving your undivided attention to the people that you're with. And so, again, and being intentional and building healthy relationships. Those are some things that you really want to make sure that you're focusing on. If you have a significant other, let's say that you're married, taking time to, when you're getting ready to go to bed at night, don't be on your phone. Don't check your emails. Make sure that those are things that you're setting aside, and think of a cutoff time. For me, when and this is something that I had to start doing even in reading my Bible. Like, I had to have a cutoff time with my phone. So unless it's my parents or my sister. And even then, like, they know, I gave them a heads up, like, this is my time, y'all. Either call me before or after. But I might be asleep after, so if not, I'll get to you the next day. But setting up time for me to read my Bible and spend time with the Word. And because if I don't set aside time to do that, I'm never going to do it. And then for me, I don't know about you guys, but when I am not able to spend, I know when I'm not spending time with God, because life just starts to get a little bit more hectic and crazy, and if I'm more irritable, and that's just because I haven't been in the Word like I have been. So for me, I have to create priorities and timelines for myself to get things done. So think about that in terms of more so being able to balance walking that tightrope than feeling that you have to juggle everything all at once. And so this was a question that I had wanted you guys to think about when you felt like you were able to balance something really, really well. We've all had some times where, in life we feel like we're good. And there might be little areas that we might want to tweak. But I want you to think about, when was there a time where you feel like you did a really good job of balancing things, and what were the things that you were doing at that point in life? Because if you felt like you were doing a good job at that point, you might have had some habits or a routine that you were in that you might need to reinstate to get back to that point of having a good balance in your life. So the next thing I would encourage you to do is think about communicating and negotiating. So you want to be able to communicate to win. And so in order to do this for your relationships to flourish, you need to change your mindset. And a lot of times with clients, I always hear them say, I felt, or you did this to me, or I felt this way. And people will internalize a lot of things that are being said or done to them, even though it might have been unintentional from their friend or their colleague or their partner. But one of the things that I would encourage you to do in order to have better or more open communication is to transform your mindset from saying I to we. And so being able to set up some expectations and some boundaries, and I even sometimes I don't even like to say the word expectations. I like to say standards, because I consider expectations to be placing your standards onto someone else. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what happens is you can't control what somebody else is doing, right? And so based upon expectations that you place upon other people, that's when you tend to feel really disappointed or upset because they're not meeting your expectations, because you can't control what they're doing. So there's, the saying that goes, raise your standards. So a lot of times it's raising your standards, following or enacting how you want someone to treat you, and making sure that you're consistent with those goals. And a lot of times people will fall in line, I guess I could say, but their actions will start to reflect the standards that you have raised for yourself. And then also they'll want to meet you and be at the same level. And so therefore you'll find that their behaviors start to change as well. But first you have to change your behavior. And so one of the other things that I would say is help your friends or your partner to understand the why of your work. So a lot of times people get frustrated because how many of you have ever read The Five Love Languages? Anybody? Okay. So, you know, in that book where they will, or Gary Chapman is saying that people are not feeling fulfilled in their relationship because their love tank is not being filled, because someone's way of expressing and receiving love is through affirmations or gifts, and then another person, their partner's way of expressing or receiving love is through acts of service. So while I might be over here waiting for someone to tell me that they love me or to give me roses, my partner might be over here fixing the roof and thinking like, I'm showing you that I love you because I just fixed something. And that's, you know, not how you feel someone's tank up. Same thing when it comes to career. Help them understand the why of your work. So you might have to explain to them why this is really important to you, why you need to put in the extra hours, you know, this month for work, and how doing that for you will help to benefit the relationship. And you know, it might be, this makes me happy. This will help me to feel fulfilled in my 9 to 5, and I might not be with you the majority of the day. So I need to, you know, be able to feel like I'm achieving something at work that energizes me, so that I can then step away from that and dedicate myself to you when I, you know, come home. And I had a couple that I was working with a while ago, and they were a couple that worked together. They both had a business that they were co-owners of. And so she would always express that, you know, she's working hard, and the only way their business can thrive is if they're working 24/7. And he was expressing that, like, hey, you know, that's great. I want this business to thrive too, but I need time with you that is not, oops, did I just mute it? Sorry. That is not focused or has nothing to do with the job. I need to be able to just be with you and I. And so that's where their conflict came from. They weren't listening to one another. They weren't able to understand why this was important to her and why this was important to him. And once we were able to kind of break down through those walls and have both of them, one, listen to one another, but then actually hear what the other one was saying, they were able to get over that hump and understand that she values work, and that's her way of showing that she values the relationship and she wants to put them in a good place so that eventually one day they don't work and she does go hard in the paint. And he understands that, but he just needs her to set some alone time throughout the week where it's just them. And so from that, we were able to help them to communicate effective scheduling where they were able to focus on work, and then times through the week where they were able to focus on just them. And so that seemed to be successful and work out. And I haven't heard from them in a couple of months, so I'm hoping that that goes well. But again, making sure that you're communicating, setting expectations, raising your standards, and expressing the why of your work and why you value it, and how then that will impact the value of your relationships. So again, with negotiating, this kind of goes into what we were just talking about, being able to compromise and participate in positive negotiation. And the one thing that I always try to stress to my clients is, do not negotiate when you're upset. You make decisions that, or you say things that you don't mean, or you make promises that you don't feel like you can actually stick to once you're, you know, in a more calm state of mind. So negotiating is definitely compromising, not at the expense of losing yourself or your happiness, but being able to find that happy medium. So the next thing would be boundaries. Let's see how we are on time. How many of you feel like you're pretty good at setting boundaries, whether it be with friends, family, significant other, or even in the workplace? Yeah, kinda. Well, that's good. Like we were saying before, your career is definitely going to be intertwined with your personal life. And that being able to communicate that up front, especially if you have a career that's really, really demanding and doesn't really offer as much work-life balance as you would like. Again, being able to set those expectations and let someone know ahead of time is key. But also being able to discuss how your work impacts your significant other, and then being able to set parameters on what works best for the both of you. And then make sure that you're being able to let them know that there might be changes that need to be made. And then also I'd say be flexible. So when your work impacts your week, like I was saying before, make sure that they know about it up front. And have the discussion and the conversation about what do you feel comfortable with. I know that this week might not be a week that I can commit to hanging out with you as much as we normally do, but where can we find, again, the negotiation piece, where can we find the happy medium? And then even sometimes you have to set boundaries with yourself. It might not even be with, someone else. It might be setting a boundary with yourself. That is something that, again, I always have to work on, because I can overcommit to a lot of things, and then I find myself feeling overwhelmed. And so whether I'm overcommitting hanging with my friends, whether I'm overcommitting myself to work and saying yes to a lot of projects, because I want to prove myself in my leadership, or whether I'm committing myself to things within Intentional You. And I'm getting better with this one, because I've definitely felt like I'm juggling a couple times where I will commit to speaking engagements or traveling out of town, and work is crazy. And so the parameters that I've set for myself there are like no more than 2 speaking engagements a month right now, until I at least get this new promotion, like the work that I'm doing. I'm comfortable with it, and feel pretty like I've got that under wraps. And then when it comes to time with friends and family, like as much as I love spending time with my friends and family and my significant other, like there are definitely times where, again, we set those parameters and have to say, like, this is going to be a couple weeks where you might not see me as much. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to spend time with you, but just know that it's not going to be as much as it normally is. And they completely understand, because I've been able to, in previous weeks or previous months, be consistent with the time that I've spent with them. And when I don't set those parameters, or I don't let them know ahead of time, that's when they're asking me, like, hey, what's up? Do you have something that you're doing? Do you have a big project on your hands? Are you preparing for something for Intentional You? And so that's why I try to let them know upfront that changes are going to be made, because if not, that's when they come looking for me, which is good. I feel loved. But I'm glad that, I have a support system that allows me to be flexible, and they're flexible, and I'm flexible with them as well too. So that works well. So make sure that you're setting up those boundaries, and that you're communicating up front, and that flexibility is key. So rule number 2, work, 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 work. You all know that song, Rihanna. So not only work on your 9 to 5, but also within your relationship. Work is effort. You have to put in the work. and treating your relationship like a partnership is something that a lot of people, oops.
Ashley,
Yeah.
if the video cuts off, just click the link to enter back.
Oh, okay.
So it might cut off in a few seconds, but everybody just click the same link and you can join back in.
Okay, gotcha.
No problem.
So I was saying that, you know, relationships are like partnerships, and a lot of times people forget that in their personal relationships. And the one thing that you want to make sure that you are doing in the same way that you might do in your professional relationship, and managing, keeping, and hopefully you all are managing good relationships in the workplace, is you want to be able to do that in your personal life as well. So make sure that you're creating time, like I said before, scheduling out time, committing yourself to time with your friends and family or significant other, and that you're not canceling or rescheduling, and keep certain things sacred. So if it's movie time, again, I've been guilty of this before, but I'm getting better at it. If it's movie time, don't check your phone in the movie. If you see the light flash or go off, don't check the text message. Wait until after the movie. If you're in a deep conversation with someone, you know, throw your phone across the room so that you can't, and put it on silent. Figure out ways to keep things with your relationships sacred, so that, again, you're giving your undivided attention, and you're able to, we were talking about keeping things sacred. Also remain supportive. There's definitely going to be times where you're going through a rough patch at work, things are stressful, there might be some countertransference in terms of the feelings that they're placing on you. People, and what I mean by that is people will talk to you a certain way or get frustrated with you, and you're sitting there like, I didn't do anything. Why are you so upset with me? What's so wrong? And then it's not you, it's the situation that might be at work, or it might be a situation, a family situation, and you just happen to be the person that's there. And so they're, you know, putting those emotions on you because it's their way of releasing it in some way, shape, or form. So try to remain supportive and understanding. And those are the times where, you know, that communication comes into play, and being able to sit down and say, like, you know, I'm not going to take this personally because I know you had a really bad day, but let's talk about it. And then the other thing that I would encourage you to do is share your goals. Let them know what your 1 month goals are, what your 1 year goals are, and what your 5-year goals and 10-year goals are. And those are things that you can keep one another motivated with, and letting them know, especially when you might feel like you're putting things on the back burner. They can be your cheerleaders, and they can be your support to make sure to say, like, hey, no, this is something that 5 months ago we talked about, and I really haven't seen you do anything, any work towards that goal. And I understand it's been busy, and, you know, life happens, but like, let's, you know, carve out some time in this next weekend, even if it's just for an hour, to start ideating or being innovative in our creative thought process to help you get to the next step. So as you're sharing your goals, again, with your friends, your family, they can help to keep you accountable, not only professionally, but then also personally as well. And remember that the fate of your relationship is reflected in the effort that you put in. So if you're so focused on career that you aren't committing that same type of drive and attention to your relationships are going to die. So maybe not die completely. That's a little dramatic, but they could if you don't give dedicated time to them. Same thing, you know, if you go to work and just sit at the computer all day and don't get anything done. those that hold you accountable, who are signing your paychecks, are gonna take a look and reevaluate, like, why have we hired this person? So, and don't think that that changes in, you know, a relationship. People, you know, you're evaluating, why am I with this person? How is this person helping to make me a better person? And by no means am I saying that you use people or you go to people to make yourself better. You should be your best going into a relationship. But they should be, a relationship is someone that can complement you. And if you're not bringing something to the table, well, that's a whole nother webinar in itself. But make sure that you're putting in effort and the work that you want reflected in the results of your relationship. And so then the last one is to commit and compartmentalize. And so what I mean by that is make the commitment. So first, choose the right partners. So again, that complementing piece, make sure that you're choosing someone who complements you and your drive is the same. You know, there's definitely something to be said about individuals who have a lot of, or I should say partners who have a lot in common. Show your unconditional support, make them a priority. So that should be your commitment in terms of making them a priority. And then commit to managing your time, both with them and also your career and professional goals as well. As hard as, and I shouldn't say as hard as that may be, sometimes it can be challenging. But when you make the conscious effort to do those things, that's when you're able to thrive in both areas. And know when to compartmentalize. So you may love what you do, but don't let your work become your life. And so, for example, the couple that I was mentioning earlier, she was allowing her work to become her life. And she was putting her husband on the back burner because they were married and he was always going to be there. And she knew that he loved him, or that he loved her. And she knew that, you know, up until this point, the relationship had been pretty good. And, you know, to her, we're just going through a rough patch and he doesn't fully understand, you know, why I'm doing what I'm doing, but he'll get it. No, he's not going to get it unless you express to him why this is important to you again, and then be able to compromise and balance so that it works for both parties. And so what we had to work with them was, or with her, was being able to limit the amount of time you spend working outside of work. So we had to start setting up some parameters and setting up some boundaries for when she was able to do work outside of work. And for her, it was pretty drastic. But she was committed and was able to compartmentalize her work and say, okay, this is dedicated time for him. And that's when both of them started to find a happy place again within their relationship. The other thing I would say is take a moment to unplug from the grind and reconnect with those that are most important to you. So one of the things that I love to do, I'm a giver. I really love to do or give like intent or thoughtful gifts, I should say. And so I like to buy cards, and I might send my friends cards in the mail. And especially my best friends, who I've grown up with over the years, and we've moved away and live in different cities, and we might not talk as much as we would like to, and our group chats might not be popping as much as they used to because, you know, different things happen in life, marriages, engagements, kids. And so things start to slow down a little bit. But what I like to do to let them know that I'm thinking of them is sending them cards. That's my way. For you, it might be a text or a call, just to let them know, like, hey, no need to call me or send a text, but I just want to let you know that that you're on my mind, and I'm proud of you, and I'm really excited about, you know, this next phase that's happening in your life, and you know, just hyping them up. and letting them know that they're important to me. And although I realize that life is happening and it's pulling us in different areas and pulling us away from one another a little bit, that I'm still there to support. I recognize the change in responsibilities, but know that I'm always here, if you need me. And my friends do vice versa, but in different ways. And so when you're thinking about your relationships, that's something that you want to make sure that you're doing as well. What are some of the ways in which you can unplug from the grind and make a conscious decision to reconnect with that person who is feeling a little bit neglected? And then lastly, it's okay to be career driven. You should be career driven, but know what to quit. And so I didn't say when to quit, but know what to quit. And so what that means is know when to say no. Know when to say, you know what, I have a lot on my plate at work right now. So although this would be a great project for me to take on, I'm happy to just consult on this one. And, Sam over here, she can take it. Or if your hands are tied and you're not in the place where you can say no to those types of things, learn how to delegate really well. Or know what other areas of your life that you can quit or slow some things down. So, for me, sometimes it's, again, I can't go out to the movies every weekend, or I can't go to the Jay-Z concert or the Janet Jackson concert that's coming into town. Those are the types of sacrifices that you make. You don't always necessarily have to make sacrifices that are detrimental to your relationship, but these might be wants versus needs. And so those are some things that you can do without. And not saying that you have to do without it completely, but you can scale it back some. So that's 5 ways in which you can really start to think about helping your relationships to grow deeper, stay more connected to one another without feeling like you have to give up passion or your work if it's something that you're not super passionate about yet. But that's a great way to, again, think about balancing, think about negotiating and compromising, think about setting those boundaries and those parameters, and then putting in the effort to making sure that you're giving committed time to both. So I'm going to open up the floor to any questions. It can be questions that you may have about what I talked about, or just general questions that you may have in general. So any questions, guys, out there?
It wasn't so much a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know if I muted myself. One of your first points about being Mary Jane really stuck out to me, because I was actually this season saying to myself, I love this show, but they have made it to where she can have the career, the money, but her family is completely dysfunctional. She can't have a successful relationship for nothing. And it's just always something. Like, why can't she just have it all? And you would think someone who's as career and passionate as her character is would be able to, but you look at the show and she's constantly in a position where she's lacking something. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to, I just feel like the show kind of feeds the stereotype. You can have certain things, but you can't have it all. And it was like driving me crazy, because I'm like, why can't she have it all? Like, she should be able to go to her job, be this anchor, be successful, the best at what she does, and then come home and have a stable and healthy relationship, because we all know that her relationships aren't always stable and healthy. So I thought that was a good point that you made early on in the discussion, because that's crossed my mind quite a few times.
Yes. I am so right with you there. And I don't know if you caught the last episode, but they kind of dig into it a little bit where she has like this epiphany, that a lot of the issues of why she can't have it all kind of stem from her parents' relationship. Um, but I think that a lot of what is portrayed in the media as well, um, it's good for TV, it's drama, and there are aspects of the show that definitely resonate with a lot of women, but um, for people who might be looking up to Mary Jane, or certain parts of her life, it would be great to see someone, a Black woman at that, who's able to um, have every area of her life, and not to say without flaws, but have it at least on the right track, and where she's not broken in all of those areas. And I think it normalizes it a lot, and makes women feel like, okay, well, my life's a mess, so, but that's normal. It's something that everybody goes through. And it's like, yeah, no, there might be bits and pieces or certain times where all of it might be falling apart all at once, but generally that's not the type of life that you want to live. And life happens, but those are not things that you want to feel normal about. And feeling broken is not normal. And unfortunately, it's, you look at Being Mary Jane, you look at Insecure. Even, we could have a whole discussion about Insecure, because season 2 is just not on my
catch up. I haven't even seen it yet.
Well, wait till you do. But yeah, I think that if more people took the time to step back and kind of analyze their life a little bit more, and to really see like what is working well, where am I happy, why am I happy with this, what am I unhappy about, and to do a little bit more self-reflection, and then work on those things. Okay, I'm happy, I'm good, let's continue doing that. I might have to pivot a couple times, but that's okay. And then in the places where you're not necessarily happy, again, looking at, why is that? What am I doing, or what am I allowing to happen to myself, that prevents me from being happy in this area of my life as I might be in this one? And for some people, they're not happy at all. And that's really where you need to, before you even think about relationships with anyone, family, friends, significant other, the relationship with yourself is where you need to start, and making sure that that is solid first, because that is what will build other healthy relationships. That self-love part is what helps to build other healthy relationships, and create success in other areas of your life, when you have that solid, centered, content, joyful, happy self first. And linking it back to Being Mary Jane, she doesn't have that yet. And until she does, other areas of her life are not going to fall in line with that.
Anyone else have any comments, questions, or something that they wanted to share?
Hi, my name is Alyssa. You mentioned that you sometimes you take on too much, or you feel like you're juggling too many things, and you notice that when you get out of your day-to-day time schedule, that's when everything else kind of falls by the wayside. Um, and I feel the same way. Like, if I don't stick to like a schedule on a daily basis, then it just all kind of just gets out of control. And then unfortunately for me, I'm like, okay, well, today was messed up, so tomorrow's going to be messed up too, the next day of the whole week. So how do you get back to your day-to-day schedule from like a whole week of just blah.
Yeah. So if I let myself go that whole week, the one thing that I try to do, I try not to let it go the whole week. I try to catch myself early on. So like, let's say it's been 2 days of chaos, Monday and Tuesday. I will be very cognizant of knowing, okay, Tuesday night, Wednesday cannot be like Monday and Tuesday. So again, changing my mindset. And sometimes I need to write down or like put in my calendar in my phone, like, okay, wake up. Okay, back up. One of the things that can throw off my day is something as simple as me not getting up early enough to get gas, and then I start driving to work, and then the gas light comes on, and then it messes me up because then I have to stop for gas, and it makes me late for work, and then I'm late for work, and it just puts me behind. So that's when I know the night before I need to go on my calendar and set up alerts to say I need to get up 30 minutes earlier so I can make sure I get to the gas station because I was just straight lazy today and didn't feel like doing it, so that I can make it to my 8:30 meeting, because people love to set meetings at 8:30 instead of 9. I don't know why, but they do. But I need to make sure that I'm at my meeting at 8:30, which means I need to make sure that I'm at work at 8 so that I can prepare myself for that meeting and I'm not running behind. Then, I know that I want to go to the gym that night. So I need to make sure that my clothes are packed. I'm notorious for leaving my gym bag at my house. And I can tell you this, if I come home, I'm not leaving. So I need to make sure that my gym bag is in my car. And these are the things that I have to make sure that I'm setting alerts up for myself. I try not to check my phone like while I'm in my bed in the morning. It's something that I'm getting better at because it definitely was a bad habit of mine. So I might have to create a note for myself and leave it on my purse the night before to say, here's your checklist, because I do love checklists. Here's your checklist. This is what you need to start with the day of. So for me, I'm visual. I need to prioritize and see that the list of things that I need to do, and that will help me to get back on track. And then the other thing that I do is when I make sure that I'm setting time aside for myself to get in the Word, I try to look up scriptures that keep me centered on my why and like, why am I doing things? Because if I'm just doing it to do it, or if I don't have a purpose behind doing it, a lot of times that's also when I find myself kind of getting chaotic and overwhelmed with things. So I try to look for scriptures that help to remind me that I should be doing everything in excellence and to glorify God. And so I'm not just going to the gym because I want to look good in the bridesmaid's dress. I'm going to the gym because I want my temple to be good. And I'm not, eating plant-based foods because I watched What the Health, although I kind of did do that. But but I'm eating better because I want my spirit to be in a good place. I don't want to be feeding my spirit junk. And so when I feel better and when I start doing things, knowing why I'm doing it, that also changes and gets me back on track. So I would say, if you're a visual person, create a list so that you can see it. If you're task oriented in that way, that can be helpful. And then also, if you are focused on, your faith as well and developing that relationship with God, then I would encourage you to also look at scriptures. And this is one thing where Mary Jane does well in writing notes, and like use those affirmations on your mirror every day, or places where you're going to see it, to center you back where you need to be.
Now, I definitely have sticky notes on my mirror in my room. So that I do practice.
Yep, me too. That, and I don't know if any of you who have done vision boards, I'm big on vision boards and hope chests. And so I make sure that I place those in areas that I will see every day. And so for me, it's on my my dresser, which is across from my bed. So I wake up every morning and I can see it. And it just reminds me like, okay, I didn't go to the gym today, but I still got a few months left in the year. So
Just a few.
just a few to get back to, what I would aspire to look like on my vision board. And so if I want to get to that, I have to be committed to going to the gym. And so those are the things that keep me centered.
Well, does anyone else have anything they wanted to add? Well, I think you brought up a lot of amazing points. One thing I definitely took away was having balance, more so than anything else. In order for us to be able to thrive in both areas in our life, there has to be balance, knowing when and where, and just the social media and phones is enough of a challenge, I think, for everyone to try to like put your phone down when you're with friends or with family, and just use that time and space allotted for the people that are around you, and not be so tuned into what's happening now in the world, or who's going at who today on social media, and just being in the moment with the people that are around you and who care and love you, and not so much people that you never met, know nothing about, and don't even know that you exist. So that was very important, and I think balance with anything is essential. I want to thank you again for coming on tonight and sharing this wisdom with us. Definitely was a lot of take-home messages that we can all use moving forward from this evening. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast, and I hope that we'll be able to connect again in the future.
Of course, I would definitely love that. As you all see, please keep in mind to visit her website as well as follow her on her social media handles to stay tuned with all that she has going on. Also, remember to visit High Heels, Higher Standards. We're actually going to have one more webinar next week, Wednesday, with Maribel Centron, who her handle is Broken to Peace. She's going to be talking about healing from our past. So that's going to be the closing segment of our Setting Standards webinar series. So definitely stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the website so you can receive the newsletter and stay up to date with all that we have going on. And also this month, I want to start a virtual book club so that we can begin to kind of just feed our spirits, like you mentioned, how you feed your body and working out and different things like that. We have to also feed our minds. So with that, there's nothing better than picking up a good book and a good read and some good girl talk. So we're going to get that started as well this month in September. And I hope that you all will join me in that as well. So if you all could please keep Florida in your prayers and the rest of the East Coast as we get ready to brace Irma, who's on the way. It's already frantic and no gas and no water, and it's crazy already, but keep us in your prayers, and hopefully everything goes well and that we remain safe here. I'm in Miami, Florida, so we're definitely getting prepared for that this weekend.
Will do, definitely.
Well, I want to ask my aunt, I know she's not expecting to, if she can pray us out. She's probably like, what?
You got that right. You know it's past my bedtime.
Thanks, Auntie.
Hey, Daria. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Okay, sweetie. I got you. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you just to say thank you. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. Father God, we ask that you just continue to bless each and every one of these young women that are on this webinar. Father God, you know what their intentions and their purpose are in life. And I ask that you just bless them and keep them covered with your most precious and holy blood. I'm also asking and pleading the blood over the state of Florida, Father God. I ask that you shield, guide, and protect our loved ones, not allow any hurt, harm, or danger to befall them. Father God, and we'll be so grateful and thankful to you for all that you're going to do and all that you've done in our lives. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ladies, for tuning in tonight. You all have an amazing rest of your evening and the rest of your week. And stay safe, stay prayerful, and continue to search for your purpose and your passion. So with that, good night. And I thank you all for tuning in. And I can't wait to connect with you all again.
Okay. See you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.